Nice to meet you, Adam. This is our first call, and I have a pleasure to host on this interview Adam Kwapiński. I probably for board game industry, there is no point to introduce you because you are behind Frostpunk, Nemesis, Lord of Hellas, and many other games. And your name is on many boxes, on many shelves, and
Awesome.
at many stores. Yeah, exactly. So, but today we are meeting together to talk about something a bit different because you are writing, or you probably wrote, because I don't know if, you wrote already. Okay. You wrote a book about designing the board games. A book is called Board Games on My Mind. Campaign is ongoing on Camefound. We are quite close to funding, and let's explore this new area for me in particular, but probably this is your first book.
First official book. I think I wrote a couple of articles when I work on the university, but nothing bigger than that. So this is the first book.
Plus, rule books sometimes are like smaller books, so
yeah, that's true. But I try to not write my own rule book. Of course, I wrote the draft version of them, but in the end, it's much better than somebody else wrote the rule book than the designer, because as
you
a
you are
designer,
going to do shortcuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, and that's not good.
No, I know how it works. Okay, perfect. Let's go back to Board Games on My Mind, and let's start with the most obvious question, because we have some books already on the market, and I had the pleasure to read the first chapter of the book, and you are saying that with this book, the reader is not going to conquer Kickstarter or become top one board game designer. So actually, I know why you picked this style for this, but if you can explain for who this book is for in general.
Oh, so it's common and also a little hard question, because I don't believe that when you read a book about something and it will not make you that you achieve something, especially achieve something fast. This is not why we should read books, I think, because it's like a little magical thinking that you read a book about diet and it will help you. No, it can help to understand something, but the true work is always before, and has to be done by the person themselves. And reading books is great, and for me the reason why I read books on many different subjects is curiosity. Curiosity how other people see the world, what they want to tell me. It's not always about seeking the one and only truth, because I don't believe there is one, but looking for a different perspective, looking for a different angle to look at something. Yeah, that's great.
And simulate your imagination, because this is the main reason behind the books.
It's just food for thoughts to make your own way, your own vision. So I wrote this chapter because I think I should be honest to my readers. Again, there is many books nowadays who offer you some shortcuts and promise you everything. and I don't believe this is the right way. So I really wrote this book, mostly for myself and for people who want to see my perspective. So I'm sharing my experience, and what people get from it is a totally different story. And this is always like a discussion between writer and the reader, yeah. And it's not obvious in nowadays, especially in academic world, who put more in the context, the writer or the reader themselves. So
Yeah,
it depends.
I agree with this approach. I wrote some books about board game design before as well, and I understand like this is not a piece of cake, and everybody who works in this industry knows that designing a board game is like, wow, this is a challenge, but you have to start somewhere, and getting ideas from people who achieved so much with designing the board games, it's always a good starting point for them. And okay, we were talking about you reading, but let's talk about you writing the book. How do you like writing the book itself? It was this process for you because you designing board games, and I believe
Yeah.
writing a book is totally different.
Not so totally, because there are some similarities. I think mostly both activities are time consuming, and you have to be patient. Because this is creative process, and I also write about this in my book, that when you create something, and you need time for this. Writing a book or designing a game takes, I think, at least couple of months, and sometimes it's much longer. So you will have good days and bad days. You will have ups and downs, and you have to be okay with it, because if you feel frustration because that one day you cannot write a single word, or cannot I don't know, create a single card, that's okay, because there will be another day, and this is how it works. And when you frustrate because you cannot work so efficient as, I don't know, week before, it is worse for you, because it will make the the circle with the frustration, and it never helps. So I think you have to be patient, and we agree to that some days will be not so good for your work. And I know we nowadays most people work 8 hours a day, and thinking itself, it's not considered working, because it's you have nothing before you after you think 4 or 5 hours. It's you didn't create anything physical, but yeah, this is also work. This is important part of process. So even if you don't write a single word and you think about the book, and when you create something you like, you think about it constantly. You can wake up in the middle of the night, and your brain is still working on the subject. Let it be like this. Give yourself time, and take small steps. This is also important, because again, nowadays we need immediate feedback from everything, and writing a book or designing a game is not so fast. You will not see results very quick. You also have to take a couple of steps back during the process many times, and sometimes you have to put everything in a trash can and start again. So it can be frustrating, especially in our fast world with the immediate feedback from everywhere. When when you post something, you just check how many likes you get, how many new likes people give you. That's not how it works in
because we live in anxiety era, but let's put it aside, because everybody is trying to do something fast. And I totally agree that designing a board game and writing a book are similar in this way, that it takes time. And your book has very clear and nice structure of chapters, going through each chapter of each stage of creating the board game. And what more? What do you think? What's the most valuable thing that reader can get from your book after reading it?
It depends. From the overall point of view, the one thing we were talking about already is very important. So something about your attitude to designing games. This is what I constantly repeat in my book, and I think second part is to realize that ideas have no values. I don't think only in board games, but especially in board games. Everything is in the execution, and idea until it's in your head is worth nothing. Nobody can play with your idea because it's closed in your mind, and until you create first prototype, until you write the first draft rule book, you know nothing about your own game, and really the game doesn't exist yet. So as fast as possible, you should create first prototype, because really many people I know who want to design a game, and they have sometimes really great ideas, and they talk about that idea to me for hours, and we met 5 years later, and they're still talking about the same idea. And when I ask, okay, show me the prototype, let's play the game, oh, I didn't prepare anything. That's not how this works. And I think this is really the first big line to be crossed, and many people struggle with that. So
because this is a totally different thing, leaving the mind, the head, and trying to put this into physical form, and suddenly you realize, okay, this will not work, and if this will not work, this will not work as well. Yes. And oh my god, this whole idea has to be different.
Yeah, that's true. And this is similar to writing something, because we all have some thoughts about different things, and I like the exercise when I'm thinking about something, to write it down in a structural form, as an article about something, as a essay about something, because it shows how many gaps I have in my thinking before. This is the structuralized form, and this is what happened also with this book. I learn a lot about game designing when I write this book, because I have to rethink many things about designing board games to put it in a good order to make it clear and make that thoughts makes any sense for me and for people.
Yeah. And if you can tell, obviously, how many prototypes have you done for like Nemesis? Do you remember how many prototypes there was?
No, I don't. I don't remember the exact number, and of course, it's really
a few, a dozens.
It depends how you count, because if we count each full prototype from the scratch that I create, I think it will be couple of them with creating all the components from the start, but each of those prototypes have many different iterations when I don't know, create a new set of cards or create a new set of room tiles, for example. So I think it will be a lot of paper and cardboard I use when I was creating Nemesis. I still remember that my fingers were literally hurt because of using the scissors to cut the room tiles. And
especially if this is the cardboard, because it requires some effort.
I used truly wrong cardboard. I also wrote about this in the book, because it was thick 2mm cardboard. It's hard to cut with your scissors, and even with the knife, it's not so easy. Now I find the better one that is more hurting. But I think in Nemesis we have like 23 rooms, as I remember. And I probably have to cut out like, I don't know, 6-8 full sets of them. So it will be close to the 200 styles I have to prepare during the
whole weekend for cutting the tiles. Okay, because if I understand this correctly, besides the creative mind, the only thing you need and some experience, and you need paper, scissors, and like pen or markers, and that's all to create your very first prototype. But what do you think about the digital approach to this? Is it better or is it worse to make prototypes in digital form?
It is different. It is complementary, I think. I use Tabletop Simulator, and I was using it before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I put each prototype there, and I think it's not wise to don't do that. Don't use that tool, because you can test your game with anybody in the world, and you can find a publisher from, I don't know, Australia, Canada, Singapore, and show your game to them and get very fresh feedback, because it's also different type of feedback, because of the cultural difference and all the stuff. So this is great, but I still believe you have to prepare the physical prototype on some stage, and this is because you have to also check the UI of your game. So even if you as a designer don't do this, because you can prepare everything in Tabletop Simulator, find the publisher, but then when you develop the game with the publisher, I think the physical prototype is a must-have, because it shows totally different things. Using screen and using a table, you cannot scroll the table. It's hard,
Yeah.
and that's totally different. So I think you should do both as a board game
But
designer.
let's start first with physical, yeah, and then go digital as a complementary
It
way.
depends. It depends, in my opinion. And now for me, it's easier to start from digital because I know in the first prototype I will, make many changes. And what I'm checking on the first stage is the game is good enough to work on it after that. You can check the mechanism of the game with the digital prototype. And after a couple of iteration on TTS, I skip to the physical prototype. I know there will be some changes from that stage, but probably there will be no big change in the core mechanism because this is what can you check using online prototyping.
Okay, so we have the first iteration of prototype. You feel this is something playable and you want to show it to other people. So that this is the moment where we are entering the test stage. And with whom you usually test your games?
Again, it depends what stage the game is because after we create first prototype, we will know nothing before we play it. So the first play or couple of plays are really for us. And I don't think we need any feedback from other people on this stage because we will get a lot of information from our observation how the games work. And on this stage we try to understand what really this game is, and is it the same idea you have in your head? Is it make people feel the same emotion you were thinking during the design process? So in couple of first plays, I of course play with my close friends because this is the cost
Yeah,
of
we are
having
calling
a
this.
board game designer as a friend. You have to play some shitty prototypes from time to time, and I play with my friends. Many of them are close to the industry. There are some board game designers or people who work on different different parts of the industry. And after that, I try to make this group wider, go to the public with the prototype, and then I gather as much feedback as I can. But also, I think observing is always more important than listening during the tests, because as some famous serial TV series character said, everybody lies, and this is how it works during playtesting.
Yeah.
Because people may like you and don't want to hurt you, or the other approach, they don't like you, and
the same situation, like the waitress is asking you, is this food was good, and you are looking at her eyes and saying yes, it was good, but you're coming back home and, oh my god, it was awful.
Literally, it's very hard to answer another thing. This is how the society rules works, and this is very weird because when somebody asks, give him or her the honest answer. This is why why it is 4. So yeah, during the playtest it's very important to make your own observation during the feedback. And from my experience, never ever as a designer don't interrupt the feedback. Don't and I mean don't try to argue. That's the first part, because it have no sense. You can agree to the feedback or not, but
Just take it.
Take it. This is you should think about the feedback, and after that put into your game what you think is good for the game, and you don't have to put everything, because it is still your game. But also you shouldn't encourage people to talk, because when you want critical feedback and you start to encouraging people to talk more, they will find more problems, even if they don't think the problems are there. So they try to be helpful this way, but no, just keep quiet and listen. That's all.
Yeah, moderating the focus group is art itself. It's not that easy.
That's true.
Another chapter you spent some time on is about randomness and luck factor. Yeah. And you're writing about several definitions of randomness and why it is so important to, name each of them different and to separate them. Because, usually as the player, this is too random, or this is not enough random. This is the only approach.
And this is exactly why we should name thing and define thing, because it makes our communication clearer. And that's normal when player told you only, okay, this game is too random, this game is have no randomness. They are often wrong about that. It depends, but they can be wrong. They are players, and it's like me watching the movie. I can say that I don't know, like one scene or don't like another, but I really don't know how to make a movie. This is totally different. I don't have to know that the reason why I don't like the scene is the lighting, for example. This is the part of job for the people who are making the movie, and exactly this is the same with the board games and with the randomness. I have to figure out what you mean when you talk about the game is too random, what it's in that, and I have to name it correctly for myself to make the game better. And really, I can show you a fast example. People think that dices are, the symbol of the randomness. And when they see dices in a game, they think, oh, this game will be very random. Which is not true, because dice is only a component, and you can use it as a random factor, but it's also the randomness on dice can be very different. You can set it
you can mitigate the risk.
And for example, you can play, I don't know, Castle of Burgundy. When you use a dice and you roll the dice, that's the part of the game, but you don't feel the game is very random. This is still a game when your choices are more important than what you have on your dice. And this is because the type of randomness that is used in the Castle of Burgundy is the pre-random on pre-luck factor. When Randomness create the situation, and after that you make choices. The other side of this is when you make decision, and after that you roll a dice and check if it works or not. And this is post randomness. This is totally different thing, and you get different feeling when you play games like those. Also, truly, cards have much more randomness in them than dice. And if you have 50
unless you
cards
have
in
only
the deck,
6 of them.
yeah, but still, if you have 6 cards, the variation in most cases will be bigger, because you normally don't put 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 on the cards. You put different effects, and those effects then can be more different than just numeric value you can find on the dice. So there are many myths about randomness, and this is why I put this particular chapter in my book to write about it. And in more cases, I want to people so that randomness is just a tool, another tool you can use during the game design process, and you should use it correctly to get the result you want. This is the important part of randomness. And sometimes you think you need randomness, but you think totally different different thing. For example, you have battles or fighting mechanics in many games, especially in dudes on the map games. You have to figure out what is the result of the battle, and sometimes you use some random factor to it. But what you really want in those games is that you don't know the exact result before the battle starts, and you can create this situation in a totally different way. For example, we have a classical solution from Game of Thrones, the board game, when you just choose a card, and there is no random if you don't play with the small random deck. That is very weird in that game, in my opinion. But if you play the simple version without that, you just put a card, and after both player choose a card, you reveal what is it and what is the number, what is the final result. And this is what you expect from the battle, that you don't know the final result before it ends. So again, you have to know why you want to use randomness and what it gives to your game.
Yeah, I think this is a very good summary of this part of the book, and that the dice is not your enemy. It's like how you're going to use it, simply like that. And okay, so we created the game in mind. Then we prepared the prototype first, second, third one. We test the game with family and friends. Then we try to test with like this external people not knowing you and not affecting with the relationship with you, affecting the opinion about the game. So we are more and more closer to the decision about publishing the game. And tell me, is it still happening that newbie designers can go to the to the publisher and tell, I created the game, I'm just like this one random guy, I never done this before, but I think my game is great, can you check it and maybe publish it? It happens? Or
yeah, of course, it still happens, and I know many cases like this. The industry is growing, but it still have the same spirit in my opinion. So Yeah, of course, people who create couple of games, it's easier for them to make publisher to look at your game. That's for sure. But I know many young designers without any published games that just talk to the publisher and have the opportunity to show them their game. And yeah, those people are published, are still published, will be published. Nothing changed. And remember, Donald Vaccarino created Dominion, and this was the debut, as I remember. I think Daniele Tascini created Tolkien. Again, it was a debut. We have Elizabeth Hargrave with Wingspan. So yeah, it happens, and they create really good games.
Yeah. So it's still possible, and despite, as you said, the market for board games is growing, and sometimes it's harder to imagine that with so many like epic, complex, good-looking games, there is still room for just one person to invent something.
On the prototype level to show it to the publisher. Yeah, for sure. You don't have to make a game that looks great. It's not your job. You're a designer. My all prototypes from the start looks like shit. They are white and black cardboards with text, sometimes some simple icons, and that's all, without any illustration, without anything fancy. And that's how Nemesis looks years ago when I started, and I tested it from with that form for I think 5 or 6 years during the different events and conventions. And still my games, when I create something new, looks like this. Nothing changed because it's not your job. Really, I think empty white cards with text only looks much better if I try to draw something on them. So yeah, I keep it that way.
Creative mind doesn't require you for you to be the graphic designer or the artist.
Yeah, for sure.
And because we have, in general, we have more ways, but the most common ways is find a publisher or try to go to crowdfunding campaigns and start it by yourself. What do you recommend for the first-time publisher? First-time designer with ready to go, like the almost ready to go game? Publisher or crowdfunding?
Okay, it depends, but I don't think the line is between publisher or crowdfunding. The line is publisher or publish it by yourself, and it depends. You can use crowdfunding or not. That's your decision. But in my opinion, you have to answer the bigger question, and the question is what you want to do in your life. Because I was a publisher. For 5 or 6 years, and I start to do that because I want to publish my own games. That was the reason, and for me it was great experience, but very frustrating because I have to spend a lot of time doing different things than designing games, because you have to run your business, you have to talk with the factories about production, you have to hire some graphic designers, and so on and so on. And that's not exactly what I want to do as a game designer. And truly, I think the best decision in my whole career was to focus only on the game design. I learned a lot from publishing time, but also that was a hard lesson, and I mostly learned what I don't want to do in my
Mhm.
life. So it depends. If you want to be a publisher, a businessman who runs your own business and can put a CEO in your card,
Business
that's
card,
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. Really, I think it's great. We need as a designers those people because only on the cooperation between those two worlds can we can create really good games. That's how it works. But this is not the same job as to keep or focus only on design. So if you love designing game and this is what you want to do in your life, find a publisher, find a people who will make all the other stuff, who know the other stuff, and your game will not be hurt by them. Because if you try to publish your own game, the risk is huge, and not the risk in terms of money, because you can use crowdfunding, for example, and it can minimize that kind of risk. But the risk that your game, even if it's good, even if it's really good, will not get as many attention as it can, because
Exactly.
you can be not so good at marketing. And in my opinion, those two set of skills, the marketing skills and the designer skills, are very separate. And of course, we know a couple of examples, people who have both. And I mean, for example, from our own country, Ignacy Trzewiczek, that's the one
Yeah.
person who is really good in both. And we have Jamie Stegmaier, who is also great in both. But
But
those
a bit
are
better businessman.
oh,
He's
uh,
very good at the business side. I appreciate, of course, I love the game designed by him, but the
I,
his focus mostly on the business side.
you know what? I think similar way years ago, but after that I have opportunity to show Jamie one of my game, and he played like 45 minutes, something like this. So very very short presentation, but the feedback it give after that and sent on my email was like 3 pages of so deep feedback that really it was one of the, you have to understand game design so well to give that kind of feedback that I was really in shock. And yeah, I think many people who knows him only from the internet see the
Yeah.
marketing part, because of course this is more visible part, that's obvious. But he is a great designer and a person who understands design on very very high level. So
Okay.
but still those people are unique and really not it not happens very common to. So you probably don't should count that you are one of them. Probably not. Probably you have one or the other set of skills much better than the second one. So
Okay. And going back to, because in my opinion, from my point of view, I can easily put you like at the same line with Stegmaier and other worldwide designers, because your games like are worldwide famous. So and my question is, what's next? Well, if I understand how it works, there are NDAs, there is a business, there is the process, but how many like games are you already working on?
okay, so first of all, I don't think I'm famous. I like to say that my games are famous, and that's that's the better way, in my opinion, because this is how it should be. I create some games that people like, and I have also a lot of luck during that, because yeah, of course, some part of the success is because of the hard work and all that stuff. But really, there is also a big luck factor to something like this, especially when we talk about being lucky to meet correct people on your way. This is probably the most important thing. And I try to not look at my design process from the business perspective. This is why I focus on that part.
Yeah.
And I also have I don't have ambition to go further when we talk about I don't know, bigger print runs or bigger campaigns or even awards. That's not the important part, and it never was. I was just a very stubborn guy, and it sometimes looks similar, but it's totally different attitude. And I try to keep my designing the same way. I'm curious what different games I can design, and I still work on games that I create by my own and without any publisher on the first stage. And after I'm happy with the design, I just look for a publisher as a newbie designer, exactly the same way. And sometimes, of course, there are publishers who came to me and asked me to design a game for, I don't know, specific IP or something like this. But I try to keep both ways equally important, because I still want have a room to designing games that I want to design. I want this choice, and this is very important. And I keep working on a couple of games all the time. So now it's let me see. seven projects on my workshop table in the prototype or prototype-ish version now. That's,
I have to say, this is like amazing, because everybody, maybe not everybody, but many people who like are in this industry for many years, even me, try to do something like you maybe try to design a game like for friends. And for me, it's like the process, it's very hard. And even after preparing the prototype, I forgot the rules of the game. I wasn't able to explain the game to the other people. So having 7 in the pipeline is like astonishing, and I hope we can see more and more of them.
hopefully,
As fast as possible. But again, creative minds cannot be rushed. So let's stay this way. And do you have any other tips? Because I think we covered, like, from the structure perspective, the most parts of the book, and we are almost at the finish line. And do you want to add something more to the future readers of Board Games on My Mind?
There is one more advice I put in my book. I think somewhere in the end, and it's about going out. Don't close yourself inside your cave, and don't sit there, because you need to feed your brain. You need to read books, listen to music, I don't know, going to the cinema, theater, opera, playing sports, do something, participate in the culture. And this is very, very important, because the things that you put into your brain is the the starts of the new ideas. Because as much as you watch, as much as you experience, this is the source of your idea. Some small parts will collide into your mind, and this is how you can create something new, or design a different game. So I think this is one of the most important advice, and it's kind of easy and not very very shocking one. But yeah, I think you should feed your brain as much as you can.
So explore and experience.
Yeah,
exactly. And then wait for the book, for the fulfillment. With just closing this, we have like 11 days more for the campaign of this project. Of course, the link to the campaign will be posted right above in the description below this video. And from my side, it was a pleasure to host you today, to talk
Thanks
with in my mind, with one of the top designers right now in the world when it comes to product seriously. And I hope to see more of your games in the future. Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not going to retire soon, I think. So yeah, I will keep creating, and hopefully some of the games will be good for you, and you will find them games of your type.
Great. Thank you for your time, Adam.
Thanks very much.